Hello everybody. Today I'm making a soap that I've really been wanting to make since I have been a soap maker, but never got around to it because I never had a fragrance that I liked for it. I'm making a coffee soap, and what I ended up with is Brambleberry's espresso fragrance. It smells just like the real thing out of the bottle. I've heard good things about it, so I'm really excited. Usually the coffee fragrances to me just have an element of like just something so artificial and like fakely sweet, and I don't like it. This is just a coffee smell, no sweetness. I'm calling it espresso con panna because I'm going to do a little bit of a white drop swirl into it. I've also been infusing this oil with some Guatamalan coffee beans. Oil itself is obviously very dark, as you can see. Excuse me, it smells wonderful on its own. So basically what I'm going to try to do here is just strain this all out. Very thick and goopy because there's lots of beans in there. I did about 4 ounces of coffee grounds to, let's see, it was about 1.5 pounds of oil. I was hoping to get 1 pound and 12 ounces, but I didn't quite do that. What I'm doing now is measuring how much oil I'm actually going to yield from this, because I already can tell I'm not going to get that entire amount that I put in. I just let this sit in the sun, basically, for about a week now. It's even actually warm from being in the sun still. I was going to use my strainer, but then a lot of bits make it through, and I really don't want this to be too scrubby. So it was Wholesale Supplies Plus had some sort of thing on their Instagram where you just use like a piece of pantyhose to get all the fine little bits out of your infused oils. I'm like, oh, that's a perfect idea. So that's what I'm doing here. I gotta kind of squeeze the oil out, as you can see. This is a brand new, fresh stocking, by the way. It was never on my foot. In case that, some things that I was worried about here. As I'm pouring this, I don't know if I teared out my container, because I'm looking down, and I'm like, that's 1 pound and 13 ounces, and I didn't even put that much in, oil-wise. So something tells me that's not right. I'm going to double check that in a different container. Basically, once I have my oil amount, then I have to calculate out my lye, and in this case, my goat's milk, too. The soap is just going to be olive oil. Goat's milk is the liquid. This infused coffee deliciousness here. And the espresso fragrance, that's it. Nothing too over the top with that. I want it to be just straightforward coffee. But I also need to know the exact amount of oil I have before I calculate how much lye I'm going to need. So once I get every last drop of this out of here, we'll pop onto my lye calculator and double check. For my white drop swirl that I'm going to do into this nice brown soap base, I have that measured out already, and I'm solving the lye in my frozen goat's milk right now. Off to the side here, that's just an 8-ounce oil batch. I did add a little bit of titanium dioxide to that. I'm going to drop swirl it in. Okay, that is about the gist of it. I'm going to double check the exact amount. Oh, actually, we're getting quite a bit of oil here. I was saying as I'm going to double check, I'm going to make sure that I did tear out my container because this is telling me it's not right. See how much oil I actually have. My goat's milk going and catch up with you guys. Then, yep, it's about as much as I'm going to get out from here. So, yep, let me get an exact calculation for my recipe, and then we'll get to mixing. Alright, I'm back. I double-checked the weight of my coffee-infused oil. Look how beautiful. Just like a cup of coffee. Look how beautiful and dark that is. It smells amazing, too. I had 1 pound and 4 ounces, so I went ahead and got my goat's milk. That is dissolving the lye and melting over here. That, and then here's my mini batch of white that I'm going to do. So I figured I'd get that blended up now. I kind of want it to be thick when I plop it in the mold anyways. This is extra virgin olive oil, so it's going to take a while to get thick on me, so I don't mind doing this ahead of time. There's no fragrance in this. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, I'm putting a touch of cocoa butter in there. So there's raw cocoa butter in there already. Just add a little super fat. You know, I like to add just a little bit of something to my Castile. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and mix this guy up. Let the rest of the lye to dissolve. Alright, as you can see, I added some more titanium dioxide to that because it's so olive colored. And it's still pretty yellowy, but you know what? If it'll lighten up as it's cured, it's good as it's gonna get. So put that aside for now. Here's my goat's milk again. If I said this already, please forgive me. Ooh, we got a hair in there. Yikes! Let's get that out. If I said this before, though, forgive me. I was like, that's losing my train of thought. But my point is, I'm doing a 2-to-1 lye to goat's milk ratio. And I find that if I do the full amount in the lye calculator of the goat's milk when I'm doing it, here it is, I'm doing a milk soak, that is just way too soft for me with my olive oil, and I don't like that. So I'm cutting this liquid amount quite heavy this time, but I'm confident that it's going to make the bark firm up really quickly like I'm used to. So, jeez. Big old hair. Anyways, we're still dissolving this here. We're basically all about dissolved now. Just a few little final stirs. The goat's milk's weird. The way it froze is kind of funny. So, dissolving it's weird, but everything seems to be turning out okay, so just on with that. And honestly, I just dump it all in there too. I've learned that I'm not patient enough to sprinkle it a little bit at a time. Just dump it all in there and stir and stir and stir and stir and stir. There's a lot of fat in the goat's milk, so it makes it kind of like it wants to saponify the milk before it even hits the oils. So be careful with that. Ready here though, I've got 2 spatulas. Here's my oil, my liquid, my super fat, my delicious espresso fragrance. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this combined. Alright, I'm fighting the urge to do excessive blending because it's at such thin trays still. That is another reason why I did such a the 2-to-1 goat's milk to lye ratio. You can do a 1-to-1. I've never done it directly with milk, and I figured this would be good enough. Here's my unscented over here, though, and it's not super thick, but you can tell it's getting a little bit more puddingy over here, where this is like super liquidy. Look how beautiful these are. I'm going to clean up the area a little bit, let these get just a tiny bit thicker before we pour. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do for the coffee layer, let that thicken up, and then plop the cream into it once it's thick. I might as well pour it now. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Then I'll take a little break for thickening. There's no reason this shouldn't be able to go in here now. It's just one straight bottom layer. Doesn't matter if this goes in thick or thin. I help to leave, after I plop some of my uncolored base in, or my white base in, I do hope to even leave a little bit more on top for some little dollops, and I have some beans to put into those dollops, hopefully. So hopefully I remember to leave enough to do that. Okay, so for that crappy view of the back of my hand there. Alright, there is that. Very thin still. I'm going to wash up a couple dishes. And wait for this to thicken up a little bit before it gets its drop swirl. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright, I washed a couple dishes. I didn't want to go too crazy washing dishes because there's actually quite a few in there, but this is, the first here is the one that I technically mixed first. I stirred it and that loosened it up a bit again. We're still pretty fluid. And obviously the coffee one, mix that a little later, so it's not ultra runny, but it's still pretty thin. So I'm trying to think if I want to do a couple drops now while it's really thin, and then kind of keep adding to it, like do some dishes, drop a few more swirls in, because I don't want them all to sink to the bottom, and I would like, I don't know, we'll see. I've never really done it like that. I always see these drop swirls that are like these beautiful, like just little teardrop blues all throughout the soap, and I would never get it like that. So I'm not exactly expecting that to happen. I just want something different for what I'm used to doing. So I'm going to kind of just for a little bit. Don't want to be too high up just yet. Okay. There's some little pores. This is fun. I love when I do something a little different than normal. Okay, I'm gonna leave that to thicken for another 5 minutes or so, and I'm gonna come back and just keep doing that as I slowly pitch away at all of my dishes from last night that I've been ignoring. So, okay, see you in about 5. In a couple minutes, time for a few more swirls. Oh yeah, we're starting to get thick. So that's a good sign. I might drop swirl the rest here from pretty high up, and then save the rest to get super thick to dollop on top. I have to take into consideration the coffee portion here has a fragrance, so it's going to thicken up faster than this uncolored, which has no fragrance at all. I didn't want any other fragrance. I want it to just smell like coffee. Everything else I could have added would have discolored or been real sweet. I didn't want that. But anyways, it's going to take a while to get scoopable for the very top, but a little bit more drop swirl in here. Okay, that'll be interesting to see what's in there. Huh? No expectations though. You know, sometimes you have a plan, and my plan was to literally just do a drop swirl, white into brown, and that's what I did. So very exciting. Alright, I'm gonna shut the camera off again. I'll bring you back when I do. No, I'm gonna swirl it first. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Then I'm gonna do dollops, and then I'm gonna do beans. A little bit more brown was going to be exposed for the swirl, but that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, barely any swirliness going on. That's okay. Yeah, nothing even happening there. That's alright. Dollops will be on top anyhow. We have a little bit of swirl action. Alright, so yeah, now I'll come back when it's time for dollops. Hey guys, so it's actually been, move this back. It's been almost 2 hours. Look how fluid this soap still is. Oh my goodness, and that's with that heavy liquid discount. Anyways, what I'm going to do, just so I'm sick of waiting, and Tessa's upstairs, just going to drizzle it on top. Probably not all of that, but do a drizzle and then put the beans on that. Because I'm sick of waiting, the rest will just be plain soap. But if I put all of it on there, it's going to spread too far. Okay, good enough. You know what? I gotta get a glove on. Just pop down here, and I thought I better just do this. Got ahead of myself. So, okay, I reserved 3 beans for each bar. Feel anything with these gloves on, but okay. These are the same beans that I infused the olive oil with. See. Get that one in a second here. These are very oily coffee beans, and it just slid right out of my hands. This darn glove, I can't feel what I'm doing at all. But I don't want to get raw soap on my fingers either. So. smoking these out a little bit more than the markings here, because then I end up with this weird, like, 2/3 size bar, and I'm going to try to just make it 8 slightly bigger bars. Just haven't marked my mold again yet. I marked my cutter. Okay, so just gotta adjust that guy. Let me see. My chopstick's a little big to dip it in there with. Good enough. Good enough. All right. Espresso con panna in the mold. Smells amazing. I'm very excited for the cut too, because I really don't know what's going to be in there. I know it's going to be awesome. So, all right. See you guys in probably a day or two. I cut this. It's very soft, as you can see, so it might be a while before I cut it. But either way, you can watch it right now. Hey everybody. It's been a little over a day since I made this beauty, and popped out of the mold so nice because of that heavy liquid discount that I did. I did not think I was going to be able to cut this today because of how long it took for my top to get firmed up. And I noticed after I did it that it's not quite centered, which is annoying, but what are you going to do? Anyways, I'm going to cut it tonight because it's not quite ready, time for me to go to sleep yet. I want to see what's in here. So, as you can see, it's a nice creamy, sort of a milk chocolate brown now, kind of like a hot cocoa color. I want it to darken up. I would be happy if it darkened up. This fragrance is supposed to do that. I know the goat's milk being in there counters that a little because it's opaque instead of, just plain water. But I'm curious to see what happens over the next couple of days with the discoloring. Also really excited to see these swirls. I think I said yesterday, I don't really have any expectations. I did what I set out to do, so it's going to be a fun surprise. A good old nothingness end piece. It smells so good though, oh my lord. I don't know if this will pick up on the camera or not. Tiny, tiny, tiny flecks of coffee bean that's in there still, so this might have the most gentle exfoliation, probably about as much exfoliation as like a clay would. No big chunks of beans, so I didn't want a real gritty soap. I wanted it to be creamy. It just seemed appropriate, but there's tiny little flecks in there. It's a really pretty color. Alright, let's get into the bulk of this guy here. I'm getting up super early tomorrow morning to go kayaking at sunrise, so it's about 9:30 at night now. I better be falling asleep pretty quick, so I'm getting up at about 4:30 in the morning. So I can be back by about 9 a.m. I can't wait. Ooh, that's cool. Cool little dollop. That's awesome. I like it. I like that a lot. Start stacking them over here. It smells so nice. Little bloop. I waited for this to get firm before I did any drop swirls, and I kept waiting. I probably could have done it all at once. This didn't go very deep. I don't mind that. I mean, I'm not complaining. But I expected it to have gone a lot deeper. So, hey, live and you learn. A drop swirl can reveal a lot of results, depending on your trace. The trace has a lot to do with it, if not everything to do with it. See another one that's like barely on the top. Okay, that's a little boring, I'm not gonna lie. I hope we get a little bit more than that happening here. I didn't think it was possible to be disappointed with this batch, but if that's all we get, I'm gonna be a little bummed. They smell good, but I wanted a deeper swirl. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's barely anything. Let's keep going though. Even if that's all I got, you know, so be it. It still smells great. It's gonna be awesome. So, but I would really hope that I get a little bit more swirliness. Oops. Didn't perfectly place these beans on top either, but that's okay. That's a tiny, tiny bit more. Not much. It does sort of look like an espresso con panna though, which was the goal. We'll see. I want one that goes deeper. There's just one bar. Deeper swirls. Let's see what we get. Not deep, but at least a little something. Yeah, I can definitely see how this could be an obsession of mine, is trying to get the drop swirls to really nail it. So we'll see what stuck on this in the future here. Because they barely went in there. I should have poured it right away. I really should have. Or poured it from higher up. I was afraid it was going to go too deep and be too swirled. And lo and behold, not swirled enough. I shouldn't say not swirled enough. I am happy with the amount of swirl. Like, it's, like, I don't know. I'm saying mixed things over here. It's kind of, not disappointment, but not ecstatic. I wanted to show too, I forgot to show on the top of the mold, or the loaf before I cut it. See where it cracked? I thought there's no way that soap reached gel. It was room temperature. And that's not gel, that's the fact that there's so little liquid in there that it really started to pull apart itself as it was setting up. So that will happen when you use such a small amount of liquid. This guy back like that. Just getting the end off of here. Well, this was a very interesting experience, that's for sure. My drop swirl needs some work. That's not obvious. I barely got this one cut. Maybe a little bit more. Did a slightly bigger cut on these bars instead of the inch. It's like an inch and an eighth. So I don't have that weird half bar at the end. I want 8 full-size bars and 2 ends. That cut was a little bit wonky, but it still worked out. But yeah, not much on that side either. It's not terrible. This is by far the most interesting, and this is the one I remember going in and thinking it went way too deep, but it actually is quite nice. So yeah, you live and you learn as far as the drop swirl goes. I was a little too cautious, but overall I'm pretty happy. They smell great, and they're great soaps, so that's what counts, you know. My drop swirl just gonna take a little practice. Pull these bits out of here, and then kind of give you a shot of the tops here. A couple days I'm gonna clean these up and get some photos. There they are. I have, coming from Custom Soap Stamps, Alex there, he's on Etsy. He's made all my soap stamps. This is my 4th one that I ordered. I actually ordered it for the tattoo shop, the Midtown Soaps. Won't be able to stamp that current batch. They're already almost completely rock solid. And I'll probably not be able, I don't know if I'm going to do it on video or not, but eventually he's sending me his Beveler and Planer 2-in-1. I'm so freaking excited to try it, and also that stamp. I think it'd be a really good deal. I told him I was going to do a video stamping and beveling my soaps with all of my new stuff. I don't be able to do it for this, but very, very soon. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll make a batch of soap just so I can plain and stamp it on camera. So yeah, excited about that. And here are these espresso con panna. Hope you guys liked it. Give me a thumbs up. Ha, there it is. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. And if not, then too bad for you. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Thanks again.